Ladies and gentlemen, there is a certain duo that always gets together to make...
Nate and Chico.
No.
I mean, Ben and Chico.
No.
Sorry, I meant Ben.
No.
That was weird.
No.
I
Dude.
apologize.
No.
It's the live stream is just infecting your brain now because people do that to us.
I thought.
No.
I actually
okay.
know you.
No. Here's the worst
For
bit:
God's
is
sakes.
Heather and Elena. They do that on purpose now all the time.
Monsters.
Okay,
Yeah.
the duo that I am speaking
I wonder
of...
if I can interrupt Nate again.
Statler and
Sorry,
Waldorf.
I'm done.
The duo I'm speaking of is, of course, Johnny Depp and Tim fucking Burton.
God damn it! No,
I know.
No.
Yes.
Why?
Okay. Before you go off the handle.
That's not
Too
true.
late.
That's impossible.
Okay, before you fly off the handle. Okay, it's not all their films. It's just the one that Doug's talking about today. A little movie that features a certain person completely out of character. That person being Christopher Walken.
Okay, before this gets started, I'm just gonna say I kind of like this movie.
I do too.
Like.
I've
I mean,
never seen this movie.
What?
It's pretty great.
Please recall. A. I led a sheltered childhood.
I know that, but damn.
B.
This was a Halloween staple for like more than 20 years, dude.
In my adult
Almost
life,
20 years.
I have
Not 20 years
developed
old yet. Damn. Oh.
a fiery hatred for Johnny Depp.
Well, you'll enjoy this because it's him being an absolute wuss.
And getting murdered?
I'm not saying a word.
Okay.
He's
just
Ichabod Crane.
Thank
so-
you.
Okay.
Okay.
Fuck. Okay,
So-
now you know.
Getting murdered. Good.
Maybe. You don't know that yet.
There's nothing to lose your head over, Johnny.
Ooh,
Okay.
Dirt
it's got
bag.
weird.
So
Got
he
weird.
don't like Johnny Depp.
No. I'm kind of iffy on Tim Burton. Some hits, some misses.
Honestly, you know what I want from Tim
And
Burton?
speaking of the misses, I also don't like Helena Bonham Carter that much.
Well, they're not Mr. and Mrs. anymore.
Yeah, I know.
I wonder who got Johnny Depp in the divorce. Heyo. Sorry. Anyway,
No one deserves
Sleepy
that.
Hollow was
No
a
one deserves
film.
that.
Sleepy Hollow was a gothic horror film by none other than Tim Burton, released in 1999. I watched this
That
in
sounds about right.
theaters. I watched this in theaters.
Yeah, I also didn't. I still don't go see movies. I never have.
Well, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Anyway, Sleepy Hollow.
There are people in theaters.
Oh God. Okay, Sleepy Hollow was
Worse
actually
bad
a
movies. Sorry.
Sleepy Hollow was actually a pretty good hit at the time, but over time, people have actually started to go back and look at it more critically and actually dissect it more and see if it actually is better now. It's kind of like how people did Demolition Man.
Are you saying that they're trying to get in the movie's head?
Maybe. I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna acknowledge that one. I'm gonna try not to.
Nate, is this driving you a little out of your gourd?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Nostalgia Critics video.
Look, just don't yell too loud. You'll
Is Sleepy Hollow
end up a
secretly
little hoarse.
brilliant?
How was that? Was that good?
I don't know what you're referencing. I am so totally out of this.
Jokes about the Sleepy Hollow.
Oh.
No, don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it! Ow! 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 Why are you looking at your hand while stabbing me? Ow!
Plus, there's no blood on the knife.
Nope.
That's a really awesome
That's to
poster.
review a food fight.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remembered, so you don't have to. Every Nostalgia Ween, I always wrap up the holidays by watching one of my favorite timeless classics, Disney Sleepy Hollow. I grew up with it as a kid and still enjoy it to this day, with its rich atmosphere, clever storytelling, and ingenious payoff right out of a classic ghost story, which is what it was to begin with.
Dude,
so as
that
you can
cape's
imagine,
awesome.
I was pretty excited to see one of my favorite directors at the
That
time,
cape's
Tim
awesome.
Burton, with some of my
At
favorite
the
actors
time.
at the time, Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, and so forth, bring to life the gothic
Michael
tale
Gough.
of the infamous Headless Horseman. My reaction was something like this.
What the hell was that?
When the film came
Thank
out,
you, John
I had
Candy.
no idea what to make of it. I mean, it looked beautiful, and even to this day, I'm blown away by its atmosphere.
I mean, that's
But the story
Tim
seemed
Burton.
totally insane. It seemed to have practically nothing to do with the original, and
Richard
it pissed me
Griffiths,
off that
rest
the
in
kids'
peace.
version was more grown up than the grown-up version. Where's all the smart stuff I was promised when I was a kid? Throughout all of my confusion, though, there was one question that stuck out the most to me. Is this meant to purposely be a bad movie? You know, along the lines of, say, Army of Darkness or even the Stephen Sommers Mummy film.
Hold on.
I'm offended.
Yeah, we're gonna have to fight now because
if so,
Army of Darkness
did
was
that technically make it better
fan-fucking-tastic.
or worse? Batman Robin was a satire, but we all know what a classic blunder that was. But still, it
Fair
was hard
enough.
to get a grip on if this was even what the movie wanted to be. There seemed to be a lot of humor to it. Ichabod being a coward, the obsessive amount of gore, and good God, the greatest use of Christopher Walken ever.
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty
If you're
good.
gonna have Christopher Walken, give him crazy ass hair, sharp teeth, and only have him growl. That is fucking ingenious.
Yes, it is.
But
Wow.
still, for years, I couldn't get an idea about what this movie was trying to accomplish. Then a series called Monster Madness came around. hosted by-
Hey!
I don't know, I forget his name, but he developed a style/genre of horror films called Hammer Horror. I kind of knew what
Yep.
this was, but didn't do too much research into it. Upon further investigation, it was a production studio that got popular in the 60s that did scary films, many of them remakes of classics, trying to give them their own 60s and 70s touch. Doing so created its own type of unique look and feel, one that could pretty much not be mistaken for anything else. Seeing this suddenly made me realize what I, and possibly the majority of audiences, were missing the whole time with Sleepy Hollow. This wasn't a horror film, this was a hammer horror film.
Yep.
A dedication to a style long since gone. Reaching too far, you say? Trying to read too deep into something that's not there? Well, let's take a look at some of the staples.
Okay, all right.
First of all, the sets. The sets in Sleepy Hollow were mostly constructed to be colorless, giving a gothic and otherworldly look that looks eerily similar to the Hammer sets as well.
Yep.
How about the story? It has almost nothing to do with the original book. Ichabod is a constable instead of a teacher, a do-gooder instead of a selfish schemer, and he spends his time chasing a headless horseman that is proven to be real rather than just a legend or a story. The whole thing reads like a goofy supernatural crime drama. Like, well,
Or-
let's not get ahead of
Or just a,
Wait,
Oh.
there's technically two jokes.
or
Good
just
job,
like a
David.
goofy episode
Well,
of Supernatural.
They were remakes of classic monster movies. Surely they stay closer to the source material than Sleepy Hollow did. But when you really get down to it, not really.
No,
the Hammer
no,
films
no.
usually took the story and made it even less like the book than the original black and white films did.
Yeah.
Often
Kind of the
resulting in
point.
complicated plots that only got more and more complicated as they went into the sequels.
Yep.
Much like Sleepy Hollow's
You need
plot,
a room in
which
your
is so
basement like that.
complicated you'd swear was a bad episode of Sherlock.
You're
In fact,
saying
even
I
Tim
don't
Burton said
have
he felt
one
like he
now?
was making
Never
a
mind.
Scooby-Doo
Garrett's the
episode
Fantastic.
half
I
the time.
apologize.
That doesn't sound like someone who wanted to strike fear into his audience as much as pay respect to something he enjoyed. Even the actors chosen. Hammer often had very dignified British actors as both the leads and the supporting roles. Here, they fill the screen. In fact, both Christopher Lee and Michael Gough have been in a ton of Hammer horror films. Christopher Lee
true.
even has a little nod here with these statue wings looking like a bat. Fitting, seeing how he played Dracula in a series of Hammer films for years.
He was best Dracula.
He is the best
He was
Dracula.
best
He's
freaking
real
Dracula.
Play the parts pretty well of the bumbling hero who must foil evil and the damsel in distress who must be saved. Though, to be fair, she
I don't
needed
know-
a
I don't know
lot
about
more
best.
screaming to complete this Hammer
Bela
trope.
Lugosi's
She should have
pretty
taken a note
good.
from Kim Basinger. Both of these are the kind of main characters you see continually in the Hammer franchise. The effects as well are both kind of good and kind of bad, much like the effects in the 60s. Most of them are done on set except when they need to take something away, like, oh, a head. And even when they do use CG to add something as opposed to take away, it looks pretty hokey. Kinda like some other layover effects from Hammer. The excess of constant gore and decapitations is also a play on how much gore and decapitations were in, you guessed it, Hammer.
Hammer.
This is important to note because
Alright.
in the original Dracula and Frankenstein, there was nothing gory at all. It was all the power of suggestion. But the Hammer films knew they had to up the gruesome and load it with gooey body parts and severed heads everywhere. Again, sounding very familiar. But the ultimate proof, in my opinion,
that was gross.
as I said before, Hammer's color palette often consists of a lot of grays. And even when they did
Except
have other color, they
for
were
one
often
thing.
purposely faded.
The blood.
But in both Hammer films
The red,
and Sleepy Hollow, the only color that leaps off the screen, because back in the 60s it was so rarely seen in color, was the blood. The blood was always bright
It was
red,
his own. It was
almost
its own
neon.
character.
Nothing like what real blood is like in real life.
Nope.
It's pretty hard to find any other genre that has blood that looks distinctly colorful as this. Sure enough, in Sleepy Hollow, look at that. When is the last time you've ever seen blood that color in a movie? Blood you get at a costume shop looks more convincing than that, let alone a studio film.
It's
This had
it's
to
a
be
bright
an
red
intentional
instead
choice,
of
because
instead
no
of the
blood that you see in films nowadays looks like this, and for good reason. It looks fake. This is something that had to be specially ordered. Somebody had to go to the blood person, show him or her a Hammer horror film, and say, I want it to look exactly like that. And that's exactly what Sleepy Hollow looks and feels like, a Hammer horror film. Yeah, it's corny, but Hammer was too. Yeah, some of the effects are fake, but Hammer was too. The style is still rich, and so many good actors come in to do a part that, even though gothic and cryptic, is still kinda cheesy. Again, almost identical to Hammer. So, was it intentional to be an homage? It sure feels like it. I think it would have been the mother of all coincidences if not, but even if it wasn't, it's pretty clear the influence is so strong that it might as well be. This came out at a time when classic monster films were once again being remade, with Bram Stoker's Dracula and Mary Shelley's
like that one.
Frankenstein. But have
That
you
one was
noticed
okay.
there's no Washington Irving above this title? This was a Ford Coppola produced film, and he almost always put the author's name on top of any remake. But nope, not this one. Perhaps both him and Burton knew that this wasn't a faithful telling of the original. It was a retelling that only an over-the-top, stylized mix of goofiness and gothicness could bring to life. How fitting when you think about it. The same way Hammer horror films were inspired by and retold the stylistic monster classics, now we have a filmmaker who was inspired by and retold the stylistic Hammer classics. Now with that said, if you don't like the Hammer horror films to begin with and find it pretty silly, you'll probably think the same thing about Sleepy Hollow. And
Well,
that's
I mean,
fine. It's not for everyone.
Of course it's silly.
But nevertheless, it's important to note that there is a
That's the
very
thing.
specific genre being recreated here that was not just a work of randomness. It took skill to recreate this look. It took clever casting to find the right people. It took major practice to get this film to give off the same feel as the film series that's been practically dead for about 30 years. Whether you get sucked into it or not, there are very careful hands that made silly scenes like this,
Goodbye, Ichabod Crane.
I
I
cursed the day you came to Sleepy Hollow.
Hollow.
Nay.
and even this, a little bit smarter than many of us originally gave credit for.
Yes.
I'm the Nostalgia Critic, and happy Halloween!
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
So seeing Christopher Walken in that type of character.
Yep.
Do you want to see that film?
I just want to watch the clips of Christopher Walken. Because I'm going to be honest, I can only handle a certain level of cheese.
I think that, but this is good cheese. I feel this isn't like an overwhelming amount of blue cheese.
Well, see, so the thing is,
It's a good variate. It's a good.
I have a
variables.
soft spot for cheesy Christopher Walken. I'll go back and rewatch the music video for "Weapon of Choice" by Fatboy Slim every so often,
just because of
just
his
because
dancing.
it's Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
And there's weird random dancing, and then suddenly he's flying, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? And it's just Christopher Walken being goofy, and it's great.
Well, it's Christopher Walken being Christopher Walken. That's just like me. I like going back and watching actually, there's more than one reason I go back and watch this film. Seven Psychopaths.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of Seven Psychopaths is Christopher Walken's
Oh, yeah.
character.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he is so damn good in that film.
Yeah,
and the fact that he didn't get an Oscar nod, fuck you, Academy. Fuck you.
It's like, no, but I have a gun.
I don't care. But this doesn't make any sense.
Too damn bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
it's Christopher Walken.
Yeah. But just the one scene in particular, I think he should have just got an Oscar nod for at least was the cravat scene where he talks. His character wears a cravat around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just it's a style that he likes to wear.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's
there was a
thing,
scene
yeah.
where him and Woody Harrelson are having together, and you know, him and Woody Harrelson have a talk, and Woody Harrelson's like, "What's that around your neck?" It's a cravat. Yeah.
Yep. There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like, whoa.
And you're just like, go on.
Go ahead.
It's just like you pause the movie for a second. You just go.
It's like, you want to see it?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah. And that scene is just brilliant. I loved it. And the payoff for it is just so good. And I'll be honest with you. If Christopher Walken, if I could ever meet Christopher Walken, I would kiss the ground on which he walks. And I would pretty much just be like, "Well, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy to meet you. What? Why?"
Okay, go with me here.
Go ahead.
The first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
Christopher Walken replaces Willem Dafoe.
God.
Wouldn't it be the greatest thing?
I could see it now.
Just like, okay, it's teetering right there on the edge, you know?
Because
I mean,
Willem
Dafoe though is fantastic.
Defoe was awesome, but I could.
Yeah,
but
but-
okay, hold on. Let me try something.
Oh, here we go. Brace yourself. Brace for impact.
Do you know how much I had to sacrifice for Oscorp?
Okay, this is amazing. Oh, this is good.
Oh, we'll meet again, Spider-Man.
Oh, this is good. I like this.
You're an amazing creature, Spider-Man. But I have to ask, what about the people? Do they actually care about you?
Man, this...
Do you know what people love to see more than anything? It's to see a hero fall. Die trying.
Right?
I am so uncomfortable.
Yeah?
Yes. We need to do reads as and like we need to do like scene reads. It's like It's like Christopher Walken did audition for this role. Now, the footage is not available, but the audio is still here.
Well, okay, so, all right, if we're going to recast this whole thing.
Yes.
All right, Christopher Walken, done.
Yes.
Who do you get for Peter Parker?
I have an idea for Uncle Ben.
Oh, no.
With great power comes great responsibility.
No! All right, no, yeah, I'm in.
Oh, God. This is just too good.
Mary Jane Watson. Or Aunt May, either one. I'll give you either one. But Fran Drescher has to be in this movie.
I can see her as Aunt May.
There you go.
You know who should be? You know who should be Mary Jane?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Here we go.
Like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Just Valley Girl Bane.
Valley Girl Bane.
All right.
With the mask. It's just be like,
You have blue eyes. I never noticed that with your glasses on.
Nicolas Cage is Spider-Man.
Oh,
yes.
Nicolas Cage versus Christopher Walken? It's perfect.
Yes, it is. It's like,
I am so uncomfortable.
I could see
You
that.
should be.
I could see that. It's you who's out, Gobby. Out of your mind. Wrong answer. Oh, God, my head's I'm getting lightheaded. I'm getting lightheaded with this. We got to move on. We got to stop this before it gets any further off the rails.
I have done something amazing here today.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank the Nostalgia Critic for this awesome video. There's a link to the video down below in the description. I'm gonna go take a breather for just a second. My head's like pulsing right now from the pure laughter. God dang it. See you later, everybody. Bye.